Once you kill a man for revenge, there's no going back. A voice in your head saying over and over, "That was awesome."
Who are you?
Drebin. Detective Frank Drebin. Thanks.
The movie opens with a violent bank robbery led by Sig Gustafson. He moves straight to the deposit boxes, seizing a mysterious device known as the plot device. Outside, a full SWAT team surrounds the building, guns raised, tension thick in the air. Suddenly, a little girl slips past security. Even as the SWAT team shouts for her to stop, she walks inside fearlessly. She calmly removes her mask. The little girl is actually Inspector Frank in disguise. Still wearing her Girl Scout dress, Inspector Frank takes down the robbers in an intense yet funny way. At same time, Sig Gustafson sneaks through the back door and hands the device to an older man waiting by the car. Inside the bank, after Frank takes down all the robbers, a woman timidly asks, "Who are you?" and replies, "I'm Frank, the new upgraded police." Frank is a member of the police, known for his unorthodox methods, so unconventional that he has clashed with the department more than once. In the next day, when Frank arrives at the office and his coworkers cheer for him like a hero, but Chief Davis is not impressed. She calls Frank and Captain Ed Hawken into her office there. She firmly reminds them to follow the rules and to always keep their body cameras on afterwards. Frank and Ed visit a memorial to honor their fathers. As do the other detectives. Everyone, except for Nordberg, for quietly hopes for a sign from his father. Maybe something strange and symbolic, like appearing as an owl later. Frank and Ed are called to a crime scene where a man named Simon Davenport has driven off a cliff in what appears to be a suicide while investigating the wreck. Frank finds a matchbook with a picture of a tiger on it. Ed points out that Simon had a sister who lives nearby and might. Meanwhile, the rest of the team tries to lift Simon's car using a crane that works like a giant claw machine, but the car slips out of the claw and crashes back down. Back at the station, Frank is approached by Detective Barnes, who shares new details about the earlier bank robbery. Surprisingly, the robbers didn't know each other and had no idea who they were working for. They also didn't steal any money, leading Frank to suspect they were after something else entirely. Later that day, Frank meets Simon's sister, Beth Davenport, a talented singer. He is immediately captivated by her presence. She insists her brother would never have taken his own life, hinting that someone may have targeted him. She also suggests that Richard, the CEO of Eden Tech, could be involved. Beth pleads with Frank to uncover the truth. He promises to stay in touch and let her know if he learns anything. Later, Frank attends an event hosted by Richard Kane and Eden Tech. During the tour, Kane shows him several of the company's latest inventions and offers him a cigar. Frank notices the matchbook Kane uses. It bears a tiger logo, identical to the one found in Simon's car. Kane casually explains it's from a nightclub he owns called the Bengal Club. The next day, Kane sends Frank a gift, a high-tech smart car delivered to his office. When Frank starts it, the car is still charging and accidentally tears several charging stations from the ground, crashing through a nearby prison wall and inadvertently freeing a group of inmates. Later, Frank joins Ed and Detective Barnes to interrogate one of the bank robbers. The suspect claims he wasn't at the robbery, so they review the security footage. Most of it shows Frank eating chili dogs and frantically searching for a bathroom, even brandishing his gun to get people out of the way. Eventually, they spot the robber, who admits he was after a specific safety deposit box, Box 595. Ed reveals that it belonged to Simon Davenport. Meanwhile, at Eden Tech, Richard Kane gathers with other powerful billionaires. He reveals the truth about the plot device. It emits a special frequency that triggers uncontrollable violence in anyone who hears it. Kane's plan, called Project Inferno, is to hide in a secret underground bunker while the rest of the world destroys itself. Once the chaos subsides, the survivors will be invited to join their so-called New World. For entertainment in the bunker, they've even booked Weird Al Yankovic. Determined to investigate further, Frank visits the Bengal Club. He questions the bartender and confirms Simon had been there recently. Spotting Beth, he quietly asks her not to reveal that she's Simon's sister. When Kane arrives, Frank requests to see the club's security footage, but Kane politely declines. Frank convinces Beth to distract Kane while he sneaks off to retrieve the footage. As Beth performs an over-the-top scat song on stage, Frank slips into the security room slowly to see its surroundings. After a brief fight with two guards, he accesses the footage, discovering Simon meeting with a reporter, Douglas O'Reilly. Just as Frank leaves, the club's alarm sounds. Kane orders his men to monitor Frank and report any further unauthorized actions. Back home, Frank receives a call from his boss, annoyed by his reckless behavior. informing him that he's suspended for 2 weeks. He returns to his apartment, where Beth is waiting. They flirt and decide to have dinner together, unaware that Gustafson is spying on them with a thermal camera. The image came from the thermal light Gustafson to misinterpreting their movements, including when Frank's dog enters the scene.
Frank goes to O'Reilly's apartment to continue his investigation. There, he finds obvious signs that O'Reilly has been murdered, and it looks like someone is trying to frame him. Frank finds O'Reilly's body and tries to cover up the evidence, but in the process, he accidentally cuts off the man's head with a ceiling fan. Just then, the police arrive. Frank quickly escapes in his smart car, but Kane, the villain, hacks into the car's system and takes control. He tells Frank that he plans to kill him by crashing the car. Frank breaks the windshield and tries to get out. As he does, he runs into a bunch of balloons and bees, and then 2 men carrying a new windshield that somehow fits exactly. Frank finally gets help from the car's virtual assistant, Clippy, and manages to open the door and jump out just in time. Ed calls Frank to tell him that police squad is being shut down because of the investigation. The building is even being turned into a spirit Halloween store. Frank agrees to lay low and heads to Beth's house. At her place, Beth treats Frank's injury, though she oddly seasons it like a chicken wing. Frank tells her that Simon believed the plot device was being used for evil, and that's likely why he was killed. He then accuses Beth of using him and faking her love. He goes off on a rant about her messing with his TiVo and accidentally deleting his saved episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Frank gets a call from one of his fellow officers, telling him to come quickly. They're about to catch Sig Gustafson. Meanwhile, Gustafson is in his car when poison gas starts leaking inside. He passes out and wakes up in a hospital, handcuffed to the bed. Frank arrives and tricks Gustafson into thinking that Kane has already been arrested. Believing it's over, Gustafson confesses Kane's plan to activate the plot device at midnight on New Year's Eve. But it was all a trap. Frank was in a fake hospital room, part of a Mission Impossible style setup. However, Barnes, who works for internal affairs, had another plan. She used the situation to make Frank admit he forced the confession. But Frank turns the tables and gets Barnes to admit she had been threatening contractors to get her way. She's then arrested instead. Later, Frank goes to another event hosted by Kane, who is about to activate the plot device. Frank finds out the signal will be broadcast from giant New Year's balls dropping at midnight. He climbs inside one of the balls but loses his pants, flashing the entire crowd. At the same time, Beth sneaks into the event, hoping to get revenge on Kane for Simon's death. She tries to shoot him, but the gun is empty and is caught. Kane sees Frank's embarrassing moment and, frustrated, decides to activate the device early, before Frank can evacuate the guests. People on the streets start going wild, fighting each other as the plot device takes effect. Frank tries to stop them by throwing empty gun magazines at their faces. He then goes after Kane, but his car won't start. Suddenly, an owl that looks like Frank's father appears. The owl picks him up and flies him toward Kane. Owl poops on Kane's helmet and his bike crashes. Just then, Frank is briefly replaced by actor Dave Bautista, who gives a dramatic speech to Kane while the real Frank takes a bathroom break. But things go wrong when the angry crowd starts attacking Bautista. Frank returns, and he and Kane get ready to fight. However, the fight ends quickly when Frank punches Kane in the stomach and Kane gives up. Kane tries to escape using rocket-powered gloves, but ends up crashing into a lamppost. Beth shows up, still wanting revenge, but Frank talks her out of it and convinces her to use the device to turn everyone back to normal. Kane is arrested, and Frank and Beth get back together. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more interesting movie recaps.